Sharp Horizon Sports. Dan Buckelman here in the bunker, joined today by Eric Sontag of Card. What is the website again?
STLSportsCentral.com is the website. STL Sports Central is the YouTube channel, and yeah, I host a show called Domesticated Gamblers every week on the STL Sports Central YouTube channel. Usually on Friday afternoons is when that heads out. But during football season, we're going to start doing a show on Wednesday nights every week, so people can hear all about Thursday night football and get ready for the football betting weekend.
That's awesome. I'm getting pumped. I'm getting ready. This weather, the 90 degree, 100-degree weather we've had for the last 2 to 3 weeks, man. I'm so ready for some frost out there, some 60-degree nights, some football weather coming through. I understand it might be soccer weather too. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, definitely looking forward to the weather swing that we've had here. I can already start feeling the humidity going down a little bit. So here, in St. Louis, Missouri, I think that we here in the Midwest, looking at overall NFL, all sports really, uh, but when I look at NFL and college football, two of my favorite sports, um, I think we really have a unique view compared to the rest of the country because if you think about it, on the East Coast, you have the New Yorkers, people in Florida, they're in bed by the time anything on the West Coast gets started, and then we're here in the middle. We get to see a preview of the East Coast. We get, if we want to stay up an extra couple hours later, we could go all day and watch everything that happens. And, people on the West Coast, they're probably still at work while the big sports on the East Coast is still going and they don't know what's going on. So I think here in St. Louis in the Midwest, we have, the show me state. That's pretty important too when it comes to wagering on sports because you want to deal with what's in front of your face. You want to deal with the facts. And we'll get into a little bit of strategies in that later. But overall, I think we have a unique look here being in the Midwest. I think we're kind of lucky to have the look that we do. So,
I agree. Yeah, I think the Central Time Zone's the ideal time zone for sports viewing. I think I love staying up late watching West Coast baseball in particular. Those 9 o'clock Dodger games or Giant games. Like to stay up and watch that. With I got an 8-year-old at home. I love an 8 o'clock start. It's my favorite start. Usually get her in bed a little after 8 o'clock and flip on a game. I love me some of that. And I also think too, when you're talking about, it's kind of our unique perspective here in St. Louis, no longer having an NFL team. I used to be a diehard Rams fan when they were here, and now that they're not, I don't really have a team that I root for other than my own fantasy guys and my bets that I make. So I think you can pay a lot more attention to other teams out there, really the whole league instead of just your own. And I know from a college perspective, I mean, I've always been a big Mizzou fan. Um, but really, that's become my football. That's my football team. I'm very locked into them. I watch a ton of SEC football, so locked into the best conference in the country, and I think that does provide some edges when you're not just so locked into one team, where you kind of have can keep an objective view. And I think it's important too when you're talking about your favorite teams to be objective about it. Some people can't do it, where they're
right.
just too emotionally invested. If that's the case for you or someone watching this, then don't bet on your teams. But I think the more you know about a specific team, the bigger edge you can have when it comes to gambling on them. So if you can kind of keep that objective and don't let your emotions get on the way, that can provide some good money making opportunities, whether it's betting on your team or even betting against your team.
Right, right. And if you think about it, in our area, you have Cardinal fans that have been, you know, fans for 30, 40, 20, 30, years and years. And then here we go. Oh, we have. I want to have a little bit more fun now that this is legal. Put a few dollars on the line here or there, and you gotta you gotta forget that your bias is going to come through if you're not really thinking about it in an objective way, like you said. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's really important. There are certain times where you can get edges just because you've watched them so much throughout the years and you know what certain players are going to do because you've watched them grow newer players coming in, things like that. But yeah, overall, that's a good point to watch out for. And I know that's something that you guys really specialize over there at Domesticated Gamblers, with being objective with things and having your reasons of why you do things, and it's not like, oh well, we're gonna sit here and play the Cardinals to win every day. You just know
Exactly.
it's not gonna happen. So
Yeah, because that's what that's really what we try to do is talk about our hometown teams from a gambling perspective. Because there's lots of shows out there that can talk about St. Louis sports in a general fashion way better than we can. But when
hmm
it comes to it from a gambling perspective, especially with gambling launching legally in Missouri here on December 1st, that opens up a whole new world. And I just really think it's going to be important for people to be educated as much as possible when they go into this because
yep.
you can really lose your ass if you because I've done it.
Yeah, I have
I've
too.
lived it. We've
Yeah.
all been there. Uh,
Anybody that tells you that, yeah, I'm a career millionaire, or I make all my money gambling on sports, there's about a 95% chance that that's not true. And yeah, I've definitely been there myself, and that's part of the reason why I started this group, was to basically give the experience that we've had on losing our asses, and not and
yeah,
trying to prevent that for other people. So
yeah, because it's almost like you got to go through that process of
right,
losing before you learn how to win. Because I know I've started keeping track of my plays. This is my fourth year of doing it, and that's just the process of tracking my own plays made me a better gambler
right,
because it holds you accountable. Where you're just
yep,
before you're kind of like, well, I was probably about even last month, but that probably means you got your ass kicked. And
right,
so,
right.
but when the numbers are in front of you, it really helps you be more objective. So I know I've been profitable 2 out of the last 3 years, and I'm on track to be profitable this year. But I still like, if I'm lucky enough to go to heaven someday after I die, one of the questions I want to ask God is like, how much money did I actually lose gambling in my life? Because whatever I've been up the last 4 years or 3.5 years, whatever it's been, I promise you I'm still down for my entire life. So I
hmm
think it's a good lesson too, especially when you first get started. Start small with your unit size because if you're gonna lose, like I just don't think you should be betting big units until you've established like, okay, I can be a consistent winner, you
right,
know,
right,
because if you're gonna lose, because you're almost certainly gonna lose. Some people you might start out hot when you first start gambling, but over the course of months, over the course of years, until you kind of go through this process of learning how to do it, you're going to lose. So if you're going to lose, you might as well not be betting that big of stakes.
right.
Find an amount that it gives you enough of a sweat where you're like, yes, when you win a bet. But when you lose, you don't want it to ruin your day. You want to be able to move on with your life and say, oh, that sucks, but that was fun, and you can move on. And that
Exactly.
and that number is going to be different for everybody. You just got to kind of find your sweet spot for yourself.
And real quick, before we get onto the picks, I just want to give a little bit of a background on what units are. If you don't know what they are, you can look this up on your own. I'll just give a brief description. A unit is whatever you're comfortable betting. For instance, for baseball, since there's so many games and so much randomness, a unit for me is like $10. Okay. Now, when it comes to football, it might be $20. So it just depends on whatever you're comfortable being as a better to place on any game. With that being said, I've found out right here rather recently on baseball that I've come to basically spread my bets out and keep them all the same for the most part. Um, to Because if you trust in your process on how you're doing things, the decisions you're making on finding edges here there, over the long run, you're gonna be more profitable than you say, hey, I put 15 units on this game and I lost, and now I'm chasing. I'm putting 10, 5, trying to catch up.
Yep.
So that's definitely one thing that we're going to be doing here at Sharp Horizon, is we're going to be keeping an even playing field. So we're not going to get killed. We could start out the first week and be down 3 or 4 units. Okay, totally within the realm of possibilities. We could be down 7 units, but the first week could be crazy. We'll get into a little bit more of the details of that here in a little bit with our picks, I'm sure. But if you guys have any questions about people that are watching on any of the specifics as far as money lines, minus 130s, plus 120s, things like that. You can just ask in the group, and we'll catch you up to speed on that. But without further any ado, I'm getting excited here talking some football and cannot wait for this football to get started. So, Eric, I will let you lead. We're going to go. We have 10 picks of college or NFL player or team futures that we are going to be putting a little bit on this year. We might have one more podcast in the middle of the year just to check on things. We'll definitely have one at the end of the year because I want to keep Eric, I want to hold him to his picks, and we're going to have a little fun with that at the end of the year. I'm sure maybe we'll put I don't know, a dessert or something on some of those pretzels,
Right.
maybe from your Friday show.
Pretzel boys, baby, gotta love
Pretzel
it.
boys,
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
We could bet some pretzel boys because yeah, hold me accountable. I want to hold you accountable. Like
Yeah.
I think it's important people to track their bets because otherwise you have no idea how you're doing. And
All
so
right,
that's the
Eric.
only way
Well,
you can do it. Yeah.
let's get started. What's your number 10?
Yeah. So if we're starting this from like the least confident pick to the most confident pick, so
That's right.
so I'm going to start with a few kind of longer shot plays. Because if we're going to be kind of, not just tracking wins and losses, but, how many units we're up and down at the end of this. Do you want to include a few longer shot plays? And I'm going to start with Justin Jefferson to have the most receiving yards in the NFL. He finished second to Jamar Chase last season in this market. You could get this bet at plus 925 on Circa. So he is back in practice this week. I just saw that yesterday, so I'm really not concerned about the hamstring anymore. And Jefferson has played full seasons in 4 of his 5 years in the NFL. His lowest receiving yardage total in those 4 seasons was 1,400 yards. That was his lowest total, and that would have finished second in the NFL in 2024. And just for his career, if you look at it just game by game, Jefferson averages about 9 more receiving yards per game than Jamar Chase. And I also just think J.J. McCarthy is going to be fine this season. So, I'm not worried about a big downgrade at quarterback for the
Well, he's
Vikings.
got to be better than Sam Darnold, I would assume, right?
I mean, Sam Darnold was terrific last season until he, turned into a pumpkin the last couple games of the year. But J.J. McCarthy is a winning quarterback from Michigan, national championship winning quarterback. He got to sit there and learn last year while he was rehabbing his injury. And also, I've seen this week, the Vikings receiver room is all beat up. Also, Jordan Addison, that came out last week. He's suspended for the first 3 games of the year. So, I think Jefferson's going to get peppered with even more targets than usual, at least early on. So I just love this price, love the value on Jefferson to lead the NFL in receiving yards. Again, the price is plus 925. You can get that on Circa.
Plus 925. That's a good one. I like that. Okay, my number 10. I'm going with Jared Goff under 3,850 passing yards, and that's at minus 115. The NFL with Detroit right now, I'm going to be at least for the first 3-4 games. I'm going to be probably betting against Detroit for a few reasons. The main reason is their offensive line. They're supposedly replacing 3 new starters, I believe a center and 2 of the guards. And that's going to be bad news for Jared Goff because if there's one statue quarterback in the NFL, he's the epitome of a statue quarterback. So if he's got to be moving around the pocket even a little bit, I'm not liking their passing game, their ability to move the ball down the field at all this year. Not only that, I think this is going to be kind of a sophomore slump year for Detroit because let's face it, and they did have a little bit of pressure on them the last few years, I guess, with having all the big names that they have. But there's not many years that the Lions have come in and said, okay, we're the top dog, we're going to do this. Okay, last year they were pretty good, but I just see this overall being a down year for Detroit. Something, the only way I see something changing is if they have a quarterback that is mobile and maybe Goff get hurts and they get a mobile quarterback that can do Jalen Daniels type stuff. But I don't see that happening. So, yeah, my number 10, I'm going with Jared Goff under 3,850 passing yards minus 115.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Detroit basically offensively last year was like a perfect offense, just about. So I just think they're going to take a step back. It's a great point about the offensive line. If that pressure's coming up the middle, yeah, it was there. Frank Ragnow, I think, was the center's name. Who was like been an All Pro. He retired. Yeah, Goff's not gonna be able to move around, and their schedule is insane. They're
Yeah.
always really good indoors, and they have a ton of tough outdoor road games this year. Besides the division games, the tough division, they go to Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Washington, Philly, and they go to the Rams too. I know that's an indoor game, but obviously a tough team in the Rams. So, like their schedule's really really tough. Their win total is all the way down to 10.5. So I do think the Lions are going to take a step back this season. So yeah, I could totally see that with all those tough outdoor games. Golf going under. I think that's a good one you picked out there.
And with Green Bay also rising. They're gonna, I think, open. Well, maybe not open some eyes, but I think be a little bit better this year than they were years past. So.
Yep, I agree. All right, want me to go number 9?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right, this one's a little more obscure, but there is a market on both DraftKings and FanDuel. It's called Stage of Elimination. And I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to lose in the AFC Championship game. This is at plus 550 on both of those books. So, and really my reasoning for this is like what the Chiefs have made the AFC title game, I believe, 8 straight years now. Maybe it's 7.
What is the
Uh,
line on that?
it's a plus 550 on both
Wow.
DraftKings and FanDuel. Chiefs to lose in the AFC
I
Championship.
think 550 is a little low for calling the exact.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I thought almost at first I'm like I feel like I was wanted to get that a little bit higher, but I
yeah.
just see this in my brain of like I have a soft spot in my heart for the Buffalo Bills. That's who I grew up as a fan of before the Rams came here, and had my heart ripped out of my body 4 years in a row as when they lost Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And I really think this is their year. Their schedule's super easy. They have the highest win total in the NFL, so I think they're going to get the number 1 seed in the AFC. And the Chiefs, obviously, they have Mahomes, they have all the experience, they have all the moxie. But I just think this is the year for Buffalo, in my opinion. And I know the Chiefs have won up there in the past in the playoffs, but like at some point, the Chiefs are not going to win the AFC. Like it's 5 out of the last 6 years that they've won the AFC. But I just think the Bills are the most likely team to take it from them. And I just think we're going to see. I'm not saying it's like a passing of the torch because I don't think the Chiefs are going anywhere. I don't think this is the end of the Chiefs.
Mhm.
But I just really think it's all set up for Buffalo this year. So I'm going to take a stab on that. Chiefs lose in the AFC Championship game at plus 550.
Okay. Yeah, everybody's on Buffalo this year.
Are they? Damn.
That's every year though. So maybe that doesn't matter who's on Buffalo because maybe this is their year. Who knows?
Yeah,
All right.
it doesn't matter.
Going to my number 9. Going back to my point on number 10. So I kind of spawned off of the Jared Goff. I'm going with the Detroit Lions under 10.5, and you talked about this earlier, and that's at minus 135. Okay. I don't think we've already talked about that. So if you want to go to your number 8, we'll go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, this is my last kind of longer shot play. It's not that long of a shot. I'm going to take Ashton Genty to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 290 on Circa. I just think this kid's going to be a stud. I think he's an every down player, and we've seen Pete Carroll in the past that he loves to run the ball. He loves to have that bell cow running back, and they clearly targeted Genty in the draft for that reason. He's the favorite in this market, but I still really like the price. So it's
Mhm.
Genty to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 290 on Circa.
Got it. Okay. Moving on to my number 8, I'm going with Dak Prescott, comeback player of the year,
Mm,
and that's at plus 275. Same thing as you said. I don't like to take the favorites in these futures to where there seems to be so much more profitability moving down the line at plus 5 or, taking a stab at a plus 500, plus 600.
yeah.
So Dak Prescott is the favorite to win the comeback player of the year at plus 275. I like that because I think this is just a tailor-made year for him to win this award. I'm looking at the other names on the list, and it's maybe Christian McCaffrey, yeah, but that's always you taking the risk with injury there. Um, some other players. I just don't see it happening. So, yeah, Dak Prescott, I think he takes a step forward this year as long as he can stay healthy. They got they finally got McCarthy out of there. I don't know why he was there so long, to be honest with you. Nobody was doing anything there for years. So I don't think the Cowboys can get any worse than they've been the last couple of years. So I see a potential for them to improve. And I think there was a stat that I heard for that. Actually, I don't want to. I got Dak Prescott in a future one. I'll talk about that a little bit down the line. So I have Dak in two futures. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that on purpose. I was actually waited till today to do my last couple, and I got kind of a brain freeze on what to do with my first two, and then I got Dak Prescott on two of them. Okay, that's all right. So I'll talk about that later. So go ahead with your number 7.
Yeah, and I could totally see that hitting too with Dak. Their running back room is just like there's really not many, exciting talents there. So I think they're going to be throwing the ball a bunch too.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to college football for number 7. Another plus money play. I'm taking Clemson to win the ACC. It's at plus 120 on FanDuel. Their two toughest games are both non-conference games. They start the year at home against LSU, and they finish at South Carolina. So for this bet, those two games don't even matter. Their only conference game against a ranked team is SMU, and they get them at home. And they also beat that SMU team last year in the ACC championship game. It's just like I trust Dabo. I think he's this is the team I think he's been waiting for. He's kind of been getting dogged on down there by that fan base for the last few years because they've only been very good instead of dominant, and I think he's kind of tired of that shit. And he's got 16 starters back from that team last year that made the playoff. They have this quarterback, Cade Klubnik, who's a 3-year starter. I think he's going to win the Heisman this year. I really do. I have sprinkled him. So I just think Clemson has great continuity. They got a head coach, obviously knows what it takes to go all the way. But for this bet, I just really need them to win the conference. So I like this at plus money a lot. I got Clemson to win the ACC. Again, it's a plus 120 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I like that pick. Clemson definitely has the most returners as far as the top teams in the SEC this year, for sure. And I just want to make one quick point about college football since we're headed that direction now. Um, you know, you watch all these talking. I don't think that the media coverage of college football means more to the betting or to the gamblers than any other sport. I think it's crazy because you got all these teams. You got over 100 different teams. Yeah, a lot of the teams are in the middle or on the bottom, but so for the top, I believe they were saying the top 6 teams received different votes in the AP poll, and I think in the coaches poll as well, of number one votes. Since I think they said since 2006,
Yeah.
more teams this year got more number one votes in those polls. So what does that tell me? Looking at it from a gambler's perspective, what's going to happen? You got Texas up there number one. You got Clemson, Penn State, Oregon. Everybody's talking about these top 10 teams, and nobody talks about, say, and I'll get into this in a little bit, but Mizzou, I got them, and you probably have them in one of your futures here too.
I do.
I would imagine, yeah. And the thing is, like, nobody's talking about Mizzou, and Mizzou is all they keep doing is winning games. I was like, well, they won 5 of their games by 4 or less points last. Well, yeah, I think that's a good thing when you win the close games. Uh, look at the Kansas City Chiefs the last couple of years. Look at last year. It takes a knack for winning those close games. It's when you lose the close games that's when you really get worried. So yeah, just a quick thing. It's all perspective, and there used to be more of an advantage or more of an angle to attack college football before the transfer portal. Now with the transfer portal, especially now that it's kicked off and doing really well, as far as the players individually are concerned, what's happening is you used to get the advantage on those smaller market teams on them retaining players, but now what do we have? We have these small market teams like Toledo, Holy Cross, you name it, Kennesaw, whatever. Like if these guys are having any inkling of building a good player, they're signing with the Clemsons or they're signing, with the bigger schools now. So we don't have. That's one thing we got to be cautious of this year when we're looking at these smaller schools. I would just blindly play, plus 35 covered easy, boom. Not going to be so much the case anymore. So if you have anything to say about that, I'll let you do that before I get into my next one.
Yeah, I like to especially tread lightly early in seasons, just because you just don't. It's narrative season right now in college football. It is. There's just so many damn teams. There's no way you can be an expert on
Right.
all of them. And I feel like a lot of it is like, especially like Big Ten, SEC. It's almost become like politics with Democrats and Republicans. I'm not going to get into politics, but like it has become. It's almost like that's whatever side you're on, you really kind of dig in and you're biased for those teams. And so you'd be very interested to see early on with Ohio State and Texas, first week one of the season, those two teams going at it, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's just I try, and that's another reason I like these futures. I just really think it gives you in one game there can be a lot of variance, right? Where
Right.
where shit can happen. There's a weird turnover, and that can change a whole game. You talk about season-long bets, and you're taking away a lot of that variance. And just looking at Clemson with all the returning starters they have, the continuity, the quarterback, this guy's unbelievable. He had 43 touchdowns last year and only 6 picks.
Right.
So I just really like being able to take teams that have a lot of returning starters, a lot of continuity, especially early in the season. I think that can provide an advantage to back teams like that.
hmm Yeah, and I'm getting a little bit more of that too as our picks going down the line. So what are we on here? I'm on 7.
Yeah, we're on your number 7. Yep.
Okay. Now this is kind of a what you were just talking about with nobody being a savant when it comes to college football. One thing I am noticing I wanted to go smaller school here. I have Buffalo to win the MAC conference at plus 400. And strictly the reason, this is just a buzz play on my part. I'll be open and honest about that. I wanted to dabble a little, because I want to try to keep my interest in the smaller teams to try to see, what's going on and have a vested interest in it. And all the talking heads that I see, on the research that I've done, there's a lot of buzz on Buffalo to win this. And when I went to place this bet, there was actually like 3 other schools in front of them with much better odds. I'm like, okay, that makes me like it even more now. So um, treading lightly on that. We're all doing just 1 unit plays on these. So Buffalo to win the MAC conference, and that's probably the least educated pick that I have. I'm just being open and honest about that. So
Hey,
we'll
that's
see what happens.
you'll be able to watch a lot of Buffalo because I
Yeah,
love the MAC with that
yeah,
action with the weekday games usually on like a Tuesday or Wednesday.
yeah.
I see they got a couple Wednesday games late in the season, so that conference is always just totally wacko. So I kind of like throwing a little bit of a dart there. And you said they're the fourth favorite to win the league. Yeah, I
I
think
think
that's
if they were third or fourth,
yeah.
yeah, there were a few teams in front of them. I forget even what they were at this point, but that's another good point though too. This is supposed to be fun. You don't have to know everything to have fun with it, but as long as you're learning and you're growing through the process, that's what you want to do.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely. Half, but this
so
is entertainment. This is not
yeah,
get rich quickly. If you're
exactly.
thinking that's it, you're going to lose your ass again. So I just really uh, warn people to tread lightly early on. Treat this as entertainment and not as income. Maybe you can get to a point in your life someday where you could treat it as passive income. But until you've established a track record that you can do that, just focus on this being entertainment. Have some fun.
Yep, just so you can tell I'm not taking things too seriously over at this on this side. I'm honestly the reason you see this wooden board behind me right now is because I had some lighting issues earlier. We were laughing before we came on because I have natural lighting here during the day, and I turn my light on, and it's like this. I have this halo over my head. So there's a little. We'll have work a little bit better production in the future,
Hey, it's
but
all
we're
good.
having fun. We're having fun either way. I don't care. We're getting the information out there.
Hell yeah.
So go ahead with your number 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the NFL for a player prop, and I've talked about this one. This is my favorite NFL player prop of the season. I'm taking James Conner under 900.5 rushing yards. It's at minus 114
Ooh.
on FanDuel.
Okay.
So this is really just fading an aging player coming off a career year. Connor's 30 years old now. You hear that buzzword all the time. When a running back turns 30, that really can lead to a significant decline. And he's coming off a career high in games last season with 16. He also had a career high in carries and yards, but his yardage number was just 1,094. It's not like he rushed for 1,300, 1,400 yards, just 1,094 yards in 16 games. So
What is that number again?
uh, it was 900.5 is the current number on
900
FanDuel.
and
It's
a
at
half.
minus 114.
I like how they
Uh,
put that half on the end of these big numbers, like
yeah,
3,800 passing yards and a half.
yeah.
Oh, okay. They really know what they're doing, I guess.
I think they just don't want pushes. They know they want winners and losers with these, so that's why they put the half in
Oh, that's
there.
a good
So
point. That's a
I,
good
I
point.
I just think like we don't need that much of a drop off in general to go under this number from his performance last season. And
Right.
just his track record says he's not going to stay healthy 2 years in a row.
Mhm.
He averages for his career, he averages just over 13 games per season. So if he misses 4 games, last year he played 16. If he plays 13 this year, like his average, he's going to go under this number, no problem. So James Conner, I love this one. Under 900.5 rushing yards, currently minus 114 on FanDuel.
I do like that one. Another thing you have to think about the way the guy plays football, smash mouth football. He's always hitting somebody. Um, we never want to wish injury on anyone, of course, but that's obviously going to be something to watch out for with the way he plays the game as well. So I do like that one.
Yep.
Okay, so number 6, I'm going with the 49ers to make the playoffs, and that's at plus 170.
Where did you get that price? I cannot find a price like that. I'm seeing like minus 200 in most places. Does your
I
book have a
believe
bad
I
number
believe it's
system?
on I believe it's on Action Network. It should be on Action Network.
Okay.
But I was surprised to see. I was thinking maybe plus 110, maybe even money, something like that. But at plus 170, 49ers to make the playoffs, as long as I got that number correct, and you can check me on that one.
If you can find it somewhere, hammer that thing because I
Okay.
saw on I'm pulling up DraftKings right now. Again, this is just DraftKings. It's one book, but they have the Niners at minus 210 to make the playoffs.
Wow.
Uh, so you know,
Let me double check on that one. Let me take a look here.
and I've seen this before where in Missouri you kind of have to get creative with how you can gamble sometimes.
Yeah.
And let's just say I've seen websites before where there's a bad line posted, and sometimes that's something that you could potentially take advantage
So
of.
what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna waste any more time. I'll get together with you and we'll get that line settled. But I don't care. Even if that's a negative number, I'll play that to minus 150. You said it was at what?
DraftKings has it at minus 210 for the Niners to make the
Minus
playoffs.
210. Wow, that's a huge difference. So well, I don't see any way that they're not making it. That's, I mean, you have obviously a lot of the offense is still together. You have all those big names. The culture, the way they play the game. I mean, it's the 49ers. They're going to be making the playoffs. Looking at their schedule, they got a cream puff schedule. They have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL this year.
Yes,
I think they're,
statistically, it is the easiest schedule in the NFL based on
yeah.
last season's records.
Yeah, so I mean, they don't even have to be that good to make the playoffs this year. So yeah, I'll double check on those numbers on that. I'll get with you. We'll adjust that in maybe our mid-year show or something like that. So if you want to go ahead and move on to 5, we're halfway there.
Yeah, Niners have been a very consistent team over the years, minus last year, which is one of those years everything went wrong. I'm going to take another consistent team for my number 5 pick, Pittsburgh Steelers, over 8.5 wins. Current price is minus 110 on FanDuel, and it's as simple as Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season as a head coach in his entire career as the Pittsburgh Steelers. And a charge, if that trend continues this year, he cashed this over. Aaron Rodgers, actually pretty good last season for the Jets when you look at the numbers. The defense, it's going to be a strong suit per usual for the Steelers. And always when you are looking at win totals in the NFL, you got to look at the schedule. And I like their schedule I think they go 4-2 in the division. They're going to sweep the Browns, in my opinion. Split with the Bengals and the Ravens, so that gets you to 4. So you need 5 more wins. There are a ton of winnable games on the schedule, so they only need 5 more. I got them having wins at the Jets, home against Seattle, home against the Colts, at the Bears, and they get the Dolphins in mid-December in Pittsburgh, and you know the Dolphins can never win in the cold. So I think that gets you to 9 right there. They definitely have other winnable games on the schedule too. Patriots, Vikings, Chargers. So just like until this streak comes to an end with Tomlin, I'm going to bet the Steelers over every year when I can. So over 8.5 wins, minus 110.
Yeah, who they got playing wide receiver out there? I know they lost.
They got DK Metcalf as their
Oh, that's
wide
it. That's
receiver
right.
one.
Yep.
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 I need to get back into my fantasy sports here. I've been studying a lot of college, but yeah, they got Metcalf. That you know who's behind him, or
Oh man, I can't remember off the top of my head.
okay,
But
okay.
they got Jalen
So
Warren at running back. They got another rookie coming in at running back who looks like he's going to be pretty explosive. And it comes
and
down to
they
like,
always have a tight end that's going to be able to catch too. You know that.
oh yeah. And they had who was it? They had Justin Fields and Russell Wilson as their quarterbacks last year, and still able to again have a winning record. And you have Aaron Rodgers, who again was not bad last year. He was pretty
Hmm.
good. So
Hmm.
I think they can very easily go over this 8.5 number here.
Okay, so I did look this up with the 49ers. It's on Action Network. It says San Francisco 49ers, but it doesn't say yes or no to make the playoffs. It just says the 49ers. So I'm guessing I was assuming that was a yes when I looked at it.
I'm
But
wondering if that's maybe their odds to win the division, perhaps.
yeah, and if you check it out on Action Network, it just says 49ers and it says no. 49ers no is at plus 157, and then it says 49ers, but there's no yes or no. So we'll figure that one out later.
All right,
All right,
sounds
I'm
good.
going to move on to number 5. I'm going with Trevor Lawrence over 3,650 and a half passing yards. Um, just all the buzz going around since, I mean, for months during the whole off season. We've been hearing about the whole culture change there. Um, they're finally revolving around an offense that is going to favor Trevor Lawrence. The offensive line is supposed to be, I'm not going to say it's an elite, but it's probably going to be a little bit better than average this year from what I'm hearing. Now compare that offensive line if they're able to step up and make a significant improvement. Give Trevor Lawrence finally some time. I don't think actually Trevor Lawrence has been that bad. He's been battling with a lot of injuries. Everybody does, but I mean, this is a make or break year for him. If he's not able to be successful in front of a decent team with a team that's actually able to support him this year, I mean, he's going to be done. I think. I mean, he might go on with another team somewhere and maybe get a shot at a starting quarterback position, maybe compete, but this is a big year for him, and I think with his pedigree, the way he plays the game, I like his arm, I like the way he moves, I like the way he's able to avoid contact for the most part. Now he's no Joe Burrow, I won't say, Joe Burrow, he can single-handedly, doesn't matter what his offensive line looks like. Trevor Lawrence needs an offensive line. He's not going to be as good as Joe Burrow, but I think he's going to be good enough to elevate this team to possibly being a playoff contender this year. So
Yeah.
I will take the over on the passing yards with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Liam Cohen, the new head coach in Jacksonville, he's a goofball with the Duval thing, but look what he did with Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year as the OC. I mean,
Right.
he's coming into Jacksonville. He's a great offensive mind. I think they are very much a sleeper to win that division. Uh, but yeah, I usually will rarely, if ever, well, I won't say never. Uh, I don't like betting overs on player props for the season in the NFL just because of the threat of injury. Because all it takes is to lose, one injury where they miss even 2 or 3 games, and that probably crushes the over. And so I'm usually looking for a reason to take an under. on someone because if I already kind of like it, and then knowing that the injury factor is
Hmm.
there, I think
Hmm.
that provides more of an edge. So just if I'm going to take an over, I really, really, really got to love it.
Hmm.
One example, I'm on Wilson Contreras over 19 and a half home runs this year
I
for the
saw that.
Cardinals. He just hit, I believe, number 17 tonight in Miami, but I've seen him take a couple pitches on the hand this year. I mean, he's getting drilled
Yeah.
all the time. It's all it takes is what, he breaks
Hmm.
a finger and he's out for the next 6 weeks and my over's done for.
Hmm.
So luckily I've been able to skate by this year. Hopefully I can get the thing home, but I really, really loved that play. But I would advise people if you're going to bet an over, only bet it if you really, really love it.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
All right. So my number four, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints under 4.5 wins. And this is at DraftKings at plus 125. So 5.5 is kind of the more common number out there, but on DraftKings right now, they provide options for really all the different win
Have you
totals.
have you talked to have you talked to Mr. Sharp about this pick?
I have actually. He's the one that kind of that put this in my head months ago that the Saints are going to be the worst team in the NFL, and I agree with him. It's just their quarterback situation is so bad. They still haven't announced a starter because they're probably just like, oh my god, like what are we doing with these two guys, Taylor Shuck and Spencer Rattler, I believe. You got a rookie head coach, and I just think I think this is just a transition year where it almost like I don't think the owner even minds if they suck this year because they can
Right.
tank and then take Arch Manning number one in the draft next year and have another
Hmm.
Manning in New Orleans. So
Hmm.
I'm not saying they're outright tanking, but and when you're a player, you're a coach, you want to win. Like you're playing for your job, you're playing for contracts and all that. But I just think this is an awful, awful football team. So I like the price plus 125 on DraftKings for under 4.5 wins.
Yeah, Taysom Hill is their best player.
It's bad, man. It's real bad.
To be honest, speaking of fantasy wise, I love having him on my team. If the guy could just stay healthy, I mean, he's getting carries, he's catching balls, he's playing tight end, he's playing running back. Yeah, I always try to grab Taysom Hill at the very end of drafts. He can win weeks for you single handedly.
Yeah,
Not a lot of people, I think, realize that. But
yeah,
yeah, and also the Saints last year, if I'm not mistaken, the Saints had like the easiest schedule last year and still was not able to do anything with it.
yeah.
So yeah, I like that pick. I'm going to my number four. I'm going with Lamar Jackson over 3.5 rushing touchdowns,
Wow,
and
that
that's
seems like a low number. Wow.
it.
Yeah.
I thought that was really low too until I looked up. Last year, he only had 4 rushing touchdowns
Huh.
the
Okay.
whole year, but two of those rushing touchdowns came in the last 4 games. So I think last year they moved a little bit more towards being a little run heavy. I think maybe injuries had something to do with that. But guess what? Injuries are probably going to happen this year too. Um, so I really like. It's a little hefty price. It's at minus 165. So I mean, if I hit that with one unit, it's going to be like a +4 unit or something like that, +3.5. I'm not going to win much off of it, but I'm going to enjoy seeing Lamar Jackson run into the end zone when I'm watching the Ravens play, and that's probably going to happen more than 3.5 times this year. So,
I like that play as I'm just looking at his career stats. Every year that he's played 15 or more games, he's cleared that number. The
hmm.
two only so 5 out of 7 years of his career, he's cleared that number. The only 2 years he didn't, he only played 12 games in each of those
Hmm.
seasons. So I think it's a case of if
No.
he stays healthy, even plays 15 out of the
Hmm.
17 games, I
And
think he'll hit that mark.
as much as they run the ball, if they incorporate even a little bit more of, of the option, um, you know, hand it off, take off the other way with it, I could see definitely a couple touchdowns just coming from that, just from there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Number three is my last NFL play. I got a couple college plays to finish it off, but for number three, I got the Seattle Seahawks under 8.5 wins at minus 120 on Circa. This line just actually dropped. I was starting to make this list last night. It was at minus 135. I pulled up Circa today. It was down to minus 120. So I don't know if something's going on there, but I'm totally out on this team. Sam Darnold, we talked about him earlier in the show. Just he looked so good last year, and then it just absolutely fell apart on him the last couple games of the year. And the games that really mattered as they were trying to win the division, and then he was just absolutely dreadful against the Rams in the playoffs. And I just think his success had more to do with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, the way he can crank out good quarterback performances. Now Darnold's in Seattle. I just don't see it happening for him. They have no depth at wide receiver after JSN. I love JSN, but Cooper Kupp's their number two. This dude's washed. Rams just cut him because they couldn't find a trade partner for him. So I just don't think he's not going to get it done as the number two receiver. Kenneth Walker gets hurt very often as their running back. Obviously in a tough division as well. I don't like this team. I really
No
hate
more
the
Pete. No
quarterback.
more Pete Carroll either.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Hmm.
just I just feel like that whatever kind of mystique Seattle had is now totally gone. So I really like under 8.5 wins. Again at -120 on Circa.
Yeah, yeah, I like that one too. I could definitely see that hitting. Now, Seattle's one of those teams that's kind of outside of my realm. I really didn't even give it that much thought, but now that you mention it, I see what I've actually been following a lot more college football than the NFL lately. So I'm glad to have you on because I can you can remind me of these little nuggets. Yeah, no Pete Carroll. I mean,
Yeah.
they run. How much do they run the ball under Pete Carroll? Are they going to be able to do that under a new coach, new style with Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being a dumpster fire for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, totally. I could see that really going sideways on them with Darnold. Just he kind of is who he is throughout his career. He's had one good stretch last season with Kevin O'Connell, and obviously he doesn't have Kevin O'Connell this year. So
Yeah, and who knows how many ghosts he'll be seeing out while he's out
no kidding, probably a lot of them.
there. Number three, I'm going to. Now this, I understand this is going to be kind of a far fetched one, but it's at plus 747.
Oh wow! All right.
Mizzou to make the college playoffs.
Yes. Oh
I
please let
am.
this happen.
I don't know if you have any Mizzou coming up on your last couple, but I never used to be that big into college football. I'm loving Mizzou this year, man. I'm drinking the Drinkowitz. Okay, I mean, we talked a little bit about what they did last year, exceeding expectations. I mean, the only the only reason the only thing that really reason I can see for them not making the playoffs is their strength of schedule. I mean, we're playing a couple really good teams here and there, but we're not playing the team. We don't have near the same schedule as the big dogs like the Clemsons and the Notre Dames, and I think even Louisville might have a tougher schedule than we have. So I'm taking a gamble here. If Mizzou is going to make the playoffs, they're not going to be able to lose more than two games.
Yeah.
I think every year maybe a three-loss team might squeak in, but that's not going to happen with Mizzou with their schedule. In particular, it's going to be South Carolina, and they play another. Is it Clemson later in their schedule? They get another.
Alabama comes to Columbia.
Alabama, yeah, yeah. And then they got one other one right before Alabama. Who do they play before Alabama?
Oh
You know?
man, I'd have to look it up. But I know when I look at their schedule, Alabama's the only game that I look at and go, okay, that's definitely a loss. And even that game's at home. They could win that game, but just for the purpose of what is most likely.
Yeah, so South Carolina is probably going to be a loss.
I don't know. It's at home. I think they always play South Carolina. Those games go down the wire every year. It doesn't matter where it's at. But
I mean, the thing that scares me about South Carolina is that's another organization too that's got a lot of people coming back, and
Sellers is a beast.
they did. Yeah, Sellers is supposed to be the next coming of God, from what I'm hearing. He's going to be in the top three for Heisman. I really like the quarterback that Mizzou's picked up as well, Bo. I think he's going to fly under the radar as far as what he can do. The guy seems to be a natural athlete. He can move all over the field. He's not going to be like, a hyper runner. got a nice arm. They do want to see him improve a little bit on his accuracy. And the only other thing that I might be a little bit worried about with Mizzou is the wide receiver core. Supposedly we have one stud coming in. I don't have his name on hand. The guy's supposed to be a 5-star recruit. He's going to be our best wide receiver.
Yeah, Coleman, I
Um,
think, from Mississippi State. I bet
yeah.
he's a transfer from Mississippi State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so he's got a wide receiver to work with. But one thing I'm noticing about all these, even these top 10, top 20 teams, they're all having wide receiver issues as well. I don't know. I guess maybe there's so many wide receivers being drafted and going to the NFL nowadays. But that seems to be a common theme. Even like Penn State's looking for wide receivers. Just a plethora. Even the big teams, they're all looking for wide receivers. I'm not sure what it is. So that doesn't really bother me all that much. But I'm drinking the Drinkowitz this year, and if Mizzou's able to make the college playoff, that'll be a plus 747 hit. I'll take that.
God, I hope you're right. I just think last year I feel like was the year where it was all set up with Brady Cook, and that's my hesitation this year. I do like Mizzou a lot this year, as I'll talk about here in just a few minutes, but I'd be surprised, very surprised, if they make the playoff. Obviously, plus 747. Like,
Well, here's another outlook. Here's another outlook on it. We didn't get ranked in the top 25.
I like that we were not ranked.
Yes.
In the top 25. Yeah.
Yes. What do you think those players are thinking right now in the locker room? Not being ranked at all
Yes.
the year that they had last year, and by all accounts, they had a decent transfer portal.
Yep.
Top 14 in the nation rated with our transfers. So yeah, I'm sitting here. If I'm a Mizzou player, I'm like, yeah, I got something to prove here for sure.
Yeah, they did come out and say today. Drinkwitz said he's going to play both Bo Corbula and Sam Horn in the Central Arkansas game because they have not. He cannot make a decision yet. Apparently, the race is this tight with these two
Really,
guys.
I haven't heard that. The last I heard, Bo had a 75% chance that he should be taking the job.
So they're both going to play. It says they want to allow coaches to see them in game situations before making a final decision on the starting.
Well,
quarterback.
that first game, that's gonna be like a preseason game anyway.
Yeah.
So I can kind of understand that. But if we're going into game number 2 at the same situation, I'm gonna be a little worried. A lot of people say, well, if you have 2 quarterbacks, then you don't have any quarterbacks, right?
Right.
I don't know if I completely agree with that, but yeah, I'll give them one game. That actually doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah, especially
they're
against
gonna
Central
win the game.
Arkansas. Yeah, totally good with that. And to me too, like, and I've heard some other people make this point, and I agree with it. If Sam Horn is the quarterback for this team, if he's deemed to be the starter, I think that's a really good thing for Missouri because I think you got to think Perbula came into camp. He got paid, from reports from what I've seen, over $1 million to come to school here.
Oh,
And if
wow.
he's beat out by a kid who's been the backup the last few years, that must mean Sam Horn is playing his ass off in camp. So I'm bullish on the Tigers as well. I'll go in again and then just give my play now. I had this ranked as number 1, but I'll go and make this my number 2 play. And again, I'm not a homer. I like to look at things objectively, but really my favorite play is Mizzou over 6.5 wins. This is on FanDuel at minus 168. So you got to pay some juice here. But the reason I like this so much is because this number is 7.5 everywhere else.
Mhm.
And I think that's an edge here with 6.5 on FanDuel. So just
What's the line? What's the line again on that?
on FanDuel right now, over 6.5 wins is minus 168. I looked
Okay.
at it just about an hour ago. And just like there's 5 wins already on the schedule, in my opinion. Central Arkansas, Louisiana,
Yeah.
UMass. They got it home against Mississippi State, who's probably the worst team in the SEC. I do have the home game with Kansas as a win. To me, that is not a toss-up game. That's a game Mizzou should win because there's a line already out there for that game, and Mizzou's a 7-point favorite.
Mhm.
So they're going to be about minus 250, minus 300 on the money line, somewhere in that range. So that's 5 wins right there. And then you got 6 toss-up games, in my opinion. I think they lose the Alabama game, so then you're 5-1. You got 6 toss-up games left. The road schedule doesn't look that daunting. Auburn,
Well, there's only 4 games on the road, right?
yeah, Auburn,
Eight
Vanderbilt,
home
OU,
games,
and
4
Arkansas.
on the road.
Yeah, the 2 home games against South Carolina and Texas A&M.
Come
total
on.
clips, in my opinion. So, like, I guess it's just where I go, looking for a winner here. If I already got them at 5 wins pretty easily, if they just go 2-4 in their 6 toss-up games, pretty much every Mizzou fan would be disappointed by that, including
Oh
myself,
yeah.
but you would still cash the over 6.5. So
Hmm.
like, I love this play. The juice doesn't scare me, and I'm totally agree with you on Drinkwitz. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think he's just created a winning culture, and I just think it's crazy to me that we can be disappointed if they go 7-5 this season. I'm going to be super disappointed. I'm sure you're going to be disappointed. All Mizzou fans are going to be disappointed. Yet
Hmm.
that's still good enough to cash the over. So
Right.
like
Yeah.
at again minus 160. What did I say? Minus 168.
Yep.
I'm
Now
not scared of that.
it's
Yeah.
kind of funny. We led this show off with the preface of gambling and not being a homer, and here we both are. We're all over Mizzou
Yeah.
this year, but you know what? We'll see what happens. I mean, we're being objective here on, but obviously this is going to seize an opportunity to have fun, be able to watch your hometown team at the same time. We wouldn't be sitting here blowing smoke, saying that Mizzou is going to be great when they're not. There's
Yes.
a good probability that they're going to be good this year.
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
And I
Now things could happen, but
right.
that's the truth.
Certainly, there is no sure thing, but I think this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. That you can have an edge when you watch a team and know a
Right.
team. Because what I talked about earlier with college football just being narrative season, what's always to talk about Mizzou? Oh, they don't belong in the SEC. They're like the redheaded
Exactly.
stepchild of the SEC. They get no respect. The
Yep.
media and the odds makers are down on them every year, and more
Hmm.
times than not, Mizzou
Well,
will
we're
exceed
in flyover country.
yeah,
That's what I was talking about earlier. I don't want to take up too much time. We only got a few more minutes here. I want to keep it under an hour. We're getting close. If we go over a little bit, that's okay. But that's another point that I was making. The media, these polls, how in college football in particular, it happens in the other sports as well. But what does everybody see? They see all the top teams. They see all these touchdowns. They see all these great players. But that's all you hear about is the top 10 most of the time.
yep,
All these shows that you see on YouTube, all the media coverage, you don't hear anything about the other teams, and we're both playing kind of the underdog card here with Mizzou, and I like that. I liked it a lot. So
yep.
we'll move on. Enough Mizzou. We're not allowed to talk about Mizzou anymore. Okay.
We covered it deep. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to move on to my number two, and this won't take much time at all because we already. I'm piggybacking a little bit. So I got Dak Prescott over 3,875.5 passing yards at minus 114. So I'm kind of piggybacking with Dak Prescott and Dallas, and I'm piggybacking Jared Goff with the Lions. So those are four of my 10 picks that are involved with a quarterback, and so I left myself with a little bit of risk there, I think. But that's okay. These future bets are just for fun anyway. Nobody's going to be losing their house over some fun future bets. So, okay. Going on, since you already gave your number one, let's move to your number two.
Yeah, and this is another juiced college football total. But I love Vanderbilt under 5.5 wins at minus 160. That's the price on DraftKings and Circa. I just think people are going to find the plus money on the over 5.5. It's really enticing because of what Vandy did last year, but I just am not buying it. Diego Pavia is back, and another thing people love Diego Pavia, and they love his interview after they beat Alabama. But he lost 4 starting offensive linemen. And so I just think that's massive. I think there's a good chance he gets hurt just because of how physical he plays. And he also has a line that doesn't have any continuity. And I just think they also had some good luck last season. They finished second in the SEC in turnover margin. And just as good of a story as Vandy was last year, they only went 6-6. And I just think people assume because they beat Alabama that they were a good team. They were not a good team. They were very average at best. And all it takes is one less win. And I cashed this under. And their road schedule's insane. It's South Carolina. They go to Alabama, who's going to absolutely want to destroy them. They go to Texas and Tennessee as well. The non-conference game on the road at night at Virginia Tech. That's a really tough place to play. That's early in the season. They got LSU on their schedule too, and that's 6 losses right there.
Don't forget
I
Mizzou.
That's what I'm saying. I think Mizzou's going to take care of business, and that's 7 on them, 7 losses for Vandy. So I think they finish 5-7 at best. I think it could be worse than that. So I really like the under 5.5 at -160.
I really like your take on that. To be honest with you, Vanderbilt's always been one of those teams that you could usually count on profiting from on just from a coverage standpoint, spread standpoint, because they're always the dogs, man. Everybody's always talking about, oh, Vanderbilt this, Vanderbilt, that they shouldn't be where they are. They shouldn't be, even in this conference or whatever. So I'm glad that you brought that take onto this show because that's actually one of the teams that kind of went under the radar for me. I just kind of figured, well, Vanderbilt's supposed to be bad, so if somebody's going to say they're bad, that's not really surprising. But the way that you put it with the success that they've had last year, yeah, that's a good point. Is that don't sleep on how bad this team's going to be, and that's another thing that I was saying about the smaller schools before is that with the transfer portal, you can't just say, okay, this team last year did this and they're going to do this year.
Yeah.
So definitely be keeping an eye out for that. Good,
Yeah.
good take.
Only thing that makes me nervous though is those last 2 plays are almost kind of correlated, because if Vandy beats Mizzou, both those picks are in danger. But I think there's enough wiggle room, especially on the Mizzou total at 6.5. I
Oh
think
yeah.
Mizzou could lose to Vanderbilt and still go over 6.5.
Oh yeah. Okay. We are at the 1 hour and 1 minute mark here, so I'm going to go with my last play here. This is my favorite play. I love this play for a bunch of reasons because it's going to get a lot of coverage. I'm going to be able to keep track of it really easy. I'm going with North Carolina Tar Heels under 7.5, and
All right.
that's at -130. This is going to be a fun one to watch. And my take on this is that I think they said the number was over 60 different players transferring onto that team this year. Oh, what is Bill Belichick? Is he a magician? Is he going to get all these guys? The teams that they're going to be playing are going to be really cohesive units that are going to be well established on what they're doing. I just don't. Bill Belichick, I think he's going to be a distraction. I don't even think Bill Belichick cares if he wins this year. I mean, if he could have a 3-9 season. His job's not going to be in jeopardy. They're paying him a bunch of money. He's enjoying his girlfriend. I mean, this team could tank and be the biggest dumpster fire this year, and guess what? Nobody's going to care. All they're going to care about is 2, 3, 4 years from now of this being a top 10 team. That's what they want. Nobody cares. Bill Belichick is. I could make the case that Bill Belichick may be the most overrated head coach in all of football. I could make that case if I wanted to. I mean, how many Super Bowls did he win without Tom Brady?
Yep. There's something to that. I mean, we saw it the last few years after Brady left New England that he had nothing. And part of that was the talent he has, but I see the argument for that. I almost get like, remember Deion Sanders' first year at Colorado when he basically the entire roster was turned over from transfers. They went 4-8 that year. I was just looking that up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Deion and Bill Belichick probably couldn't be any two more opposite personalities.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought of that when you said that about just how much turnover they have in the roster.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't just immediately click
Yes.
necessarily.
And another angle that I'm probably going to take this year, talking about North Carolina, is also a lot of unders, just simply due to the fact that do I think Bill Belichick can put some competent players out there and play some sound defense?
Yeah.
Probably. Are they going to compete? Are they going to put up a bunch of points against these other teams? Most likely not. So I can see him kind of implementing his last year in New England where he didn't really have a team, just running the football, grinding everything out, taking no chances at all on anything. So I'm going to be targeting a lot of unders throughout the year as well. I don't want to give out too many of my plays at this point, but that's definitely going to be one. That's a little freebie at the end of the show here. We're going to be playing a bunch of Tar Heels under. We may play them all this year, and then see. Okay, we missed 3 of them. Okay, big deal. So
Yeah, I like that angle. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming onto the show. We're gonna have to give Sean a hard time next time we see him. Would love to get his hot takes and see uh, what he had to offer. So Eric Sontag, make sure to catch their show at STL Sports Central Fridays at 1. And then you guys are you going to be doing Fridays and Wednesdays with football, or is it just
It's going to be just
one?
Wednesday. So yeah, this
Just
week, on August 22nd will be Friday afternoon that'll get posted. But we're going to start going live every Wednesday night, starting August 27th. Usually around 9:30 p.m. or so. A little late night gambling. Get the
Mhm.
kids in beds, get a drink in your hands, and flip on the STL Sports Central YouTube channel and talk some football gambling and St. Louis sports gambling for the weekend.
Yep, there you go, and you'll have the day before the big Thursday games NFL start too. So,
Exactly.
all right, well, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for coming on, and we'll have, excuse me, some more guests coming on the show here soon. We will catch you all. I'll be posting some picks for college football. God, I can't believe it's 3 days away now.
Yeah.
We got our first games.
Yep.
I don't
Iowa
think we'll be
State,
pushing.
K-State. It's a good one.
Unbelievable. We're getting pumped. The weather's turning. Get some better weather around here, man. Things are going to be looking good here in St. Louis. So once again, thanks for coming on, Eric, and we will see you all later. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share. Thanks.